If you want to know why people do things differently and you don't do them the same as them, then you can do things your own way. Is true. The differences that you have with other people are not the differences that keep them from being your friends or keep them from being someone that you keep in your life. The differences that people share are the differences that they don't know that they can care about too. Your life can be something that can be different because your life can be something that can share a better existence than your own existence if yours is one that isn't a good existence for you. You can talk about many things and talk about how you love your life. You can talk about how you care about your life and how much you don't want your life to be something that you lose. But when life is something that you lose, it's not something that you want to try to lose. It's something that you want to try to keep. And if you keep your life, you can keep your life by trying to be someone that knows that your life is worth it. When your life is worth it, your life is something that matters. Your life is something that needs to be cared about. Your life is something that needs to be shown to others that you matter. You matter because you're the one who drives yourself into a lesser existence. You're the one who doesn't show how much you matter. When you don't share how much you matter and others don't care about how much you matter, then you're the one that's not going to matter to them when you need them most. And they need you to be the one that matters to you. Not really. You need them to matter. You need to be the one that they feel matters to them is correct. People can tell you many things about how they don't matter to themselves. They can speak the negative talk that a lot of people have, the way that people can talk about the lesser of what they are and the lesser of what they don't want to be. People can show themselves off to be fools and to be some people of a different kind that you're not used to. The discomfort that people feel around people that are different than them is a discomfort that people feel only because they don't know them. The different people that make people uncomfortable are the different people, not just what race is what divides the differences, but by monetary divisions, by economic divisions, by social divisions, class divisions, and race is a big one too. But when also people can be divided within a family simply because there is a strata of economic difference, a family can be something that's divided. But if your family is divided, then your family is one that can recoup its division by simply saying, I don't choose to be divided anymore. Family is the strongest thing in life that God tells me is what we reach for when we need family the most. There's no one that will reach and do more for us than family than anyone else if God says it's true. In the end, it is family that keeps us together when we fall apart or are falling apart. But it isn't family that should aid us in falling apart is what God says too. The differences that we have within a family can divide us and make us perceive that a sibling is of a lesser value is simply true. People of addiction and life of an addict are people that have family that know addiction to a limited amount, a limited degree. Your experience is not the experience of the addict. I defend addicts and their existence as lives that matter, despite many who might say, you're an addict who hurt your family. You're an addict who hurt your children. You're an addict who doesn't deserve to be considered worth your life as much as you say. The things you say aren't really anything important because you are not important. You're not important because you're the one who says them and then you're the one who relapses. You're the one who says them and you're the one who admits to relapse. You're the one who says them and admits in phone calls when somebody asks, how long have you been sober? You don't lie and say, I've been sober. You're the one who tells the truth and tells them, I've been a week sober, 2 weeks sober. And now, going on 2 weeks sober for me. Now, real time, real talk. An addict who suffers with the emotional problems that an addict like me can suffer, who has an addiction to meth, is an addict who struggles with mental disorders. True. You can be mentally unfit, mentally unhealthy, and mentally unwell. You can choose wrong. You can choose vague. You can be undiscerning of what is in front of you. But if I'm an addict who has those mental disabilities, I wouldn't be able to tell. Would you? Would you be able to tell that something's mentally wrong with me because I choose to do something different maybe than you've never seen me do? If I'm a person who can coach tennis like a badass because I have an eye for technique or an eye for being able to discern the nuances of body movements, the biomechanics of what it is that the muscular structure does when it does a motion that is in the motion of a tennis swing, be it a forehand, backhand, slice, serve, second serve, slice, serve, volley, forehand, slice, forehand volley, backhand volley, drop shot, tweener. Tweener wasn't my shot. Tweener wasn't what I did. But when you can discern the different aspects and different parts of a stroke, a tennis stroke, And you can break it down to the smallest detail, and you never have anyone tell you that you're wrong just because they can't do it the same way you can do it. It doesn't mean you're right. It just means that they can't see it the way you can see it. If that makes me special as a tennis coach, then I never pursued that special. I could watch the intricacies and the motions of a tennis stroke, and with one stroke, I could feel what it was that someone was doing. I once told one of my students it was like feeling with my eyes. And that same student, I got the privilege of seeing a moment of incredible remarkableness and the ability to trust my own instincts as a tennis coach. He was trying to do a stroke, hitting forehands repeatedly over and over and over again, and his timing was off. And the timing is the contact point of the ball, whether he's late, whether the racket head is further back at contact, further forward in contact, whether the racket head, the slant, the angle of the racket is positioned correctly, whether there's a slight 12-degree angle at contact point to create topspin or not. We did get to those depths, but we did it with video. In this particular situation, his time was off, and he kept mishitting the ball or mistiming it, and he just couldn't get it. And I stopped everything, and I stood with him, and I talked to him, and I said, listen, dude, you're an advanced tennis player. Timing is something you don't have to figure out. Timing is something that you already have inside, because his timing was always good, and he was having a day where he was off. He just couldn't figure it out. And we have days like that. And tennis players and athletes where they do something technical know that. You can be off. Your muscles can be weak in one aspect or one part. And so your timing can be off or your technique can be off because you're not doing things correctly because you have a weak part of your body. Maybe a bicep is weak. Maybe you've been doing too many push-ups or doing something else that makes you weak. But that would be footwork. And we didn't really deal with that because I dealt with juniors. so that kind of problem didn't exist. But for this guy, and he had beautiful strokes, and he still does, and he's an amazing person, and I respect the shit out of him, because when I didn't know who he was at 10 years old, and so something like that, 10 years old, he was a little shit that just didn't have any expression at all of his emotions. He was a hard-ass worker. You tell him what to do, and like a little soldier, he'd go ahead and do it. All right, do the stroke. And he didn't bother telling me that he didn't understand what the hell I was saying for a couple years when I was coaching him. I was still learning how to coach. It's not true. I knew how to coach. I didn't know how to coach him, though. I didn't know that he was going to be this amazing, great tennis player for me to look at and watch and be like, damn, that kid still can play, man. He's got way more that he can improve still. Because I got to watch him play yesterday. I don't know how old, I think he's 24 right now when I was done. And I stopped coaching him around, I don't know, the last lesson I gave him was probably a couple years ago, but at 18 we probably stopped. He knew I had a problem with drugs, and he was there for me a lot because he was the one who grew up at the same time that I was coaching him. And the family that I knew was a family that I respected, but a family also that I didn't show the respect because I was a person that was arrogant, prideful, and I just knew what the fuck I was doing when I got on the court. I was the badass tennis coach who didn't need anybody to tell me anything because I knew what I needed and what I wanted and how to get it from the player. I knew how to do it, and I didn't have anybody tell me anything different because I could out-talk and I could outsmart and I could out-convince anybody what they thought was wrong. It was the wrong thing at the wrong time, at the wrong way, for the wrong reasons, because when I had my reasoning explained, it was simple to say, your idea may not be bad, but it's not the right time to implement it. Your weakness in your mind of what you see as a weakness in your son or your daughter in their stroke is not a weakness that I see right now. The weakness is this that we need to finish first, or we need to conquer first in order to get to where you want to go. Where you want to go is the destination that we need to address. But if we fix it here, it may not be there anymore later down the road. And that's how I coached. I coached with the long game is what I coached. I looked at the future without knowing how far I was looking into the future to help a player. So this kid's doing drills. He couldn't get it. He was getting pissed. He was getting irritated. He was just wondering, I'm a horrible tennis player. He was not a horrible. He was a great tennis player at that time too. He wasn't a top junior, but he hung with them. And he was able to play with one of his fellow juniors a couple years older than him yesterday. Two grown men. And it was like watching a junior tournament again. Nah, it was two grown men smacking the crap out of the ball, hitting with beautiful technique. Both of them. The other dude, Dude, and a beautiful backhand that I could teach, and I didn't teach him that. But my dude, my guy, beautiful strokes that are not quite the same as when I taught him, but still beautiful, none the same. Speed on the court, amazing. Things he did, amazing. And I sat there as a tennis coach around his students now. I walked in and I saw him playing, and he saw me. He couldn't keep his eyes off of me, which was weird to me, but when God tells me the reason that someone who values me in that way because he respects me, he also respects what I know about what he's doing. He is a successful tennis coach right now beyond what I was able to do. And when he was little, his path was to be a pro tennis player, was what ultimately we, his parents, picked for him. He wasn't good in school, but it doesn't mean he wasn't smart. He's smart as hell. He can recite to you all kinds of things that I couldn't recite from you, not verbatim, but by list. And I'd be like, dude, why did anybody think that you were a little bit slow, man? You're reciting like a list of shit that I couldn't remember, and you're doing it easy peasy. He's a great tennis coach with a great eye, and what I love about the way he coaches, he has a passion for motivation. He has a passion. He has a passion for encouragement. He has a passion to put the fire in someone that they can succeed when they couldn't believe they could succeed. When he was young, he didn't have it easy. He had a brother ahead of him who was more talented, smarter, had all the girls. He wishes he did. But he had an older brother who I coached too from scratch. And this kid plays beautifully. And he was a pain in the ass because he was so difficult. And if he had me do that, the player I'm talking about is a player that I value. And I value him a lot. And that time when I saw something amazing in me through him was when the timing that he couldn't get because he was looking at the ball and he was doing everything right, setting up everything right. And what I know now is that God told me, he spoke to me, and I didn't have faith then. He said, try this. And so I stepped out to him and I said, all right, we're going to try something different. I didn't hear a voice. I just had the intuition to say, let's try this. I told him, your timing is there. Your timing is real. You don't even need to have your eyes open, right? Watch me hit the ball. Close your eyes and then track the ball. That little bit of distance from my hitting the ball over the net, maybe 5 feet, close your eyes. That's all you need to know where the ball's going to land, because you can see the spin of the ball, you can see the trajectory of the ball, you can see how hard I swing it, and you can hit the ball perfectly, is what I didn't say. But I said, you'll hit the ball. And he's like, okay, coach, because he trusted me. And so I ran back over when I could still run to the other side of the court, probably walked. And I was nervous. I was like, all right, man, if this fails, I'm an idiot, right? But something said just to march on, just to do it. And so I told him, ready? He looked at me, I hit the ball, closed his eyes. And he hit that ball perfectly. And he hit it perfectly because God tells me, because I was right. The things that we don't know that we can do, that we learned when we didn't know that we were learning, are the things that we can teach ourselves to do again and do it better and do it more than what we did before. When he's someone who had something already inside of him, but he didn't know, I had to do something to teach him that he had it inside him. I didn't have to retrain it to him. I just had to wake that up in him, as God told me. And when the look on his face when he did that was priceless, because he became a believer at that moment, I think, to a greater degree. And that idea is what I hope he teaches now. He encourages like crazy. He's hard. He yells at players. I don't know, he makes them cry. I made him cry all the time. And he cried when I would coach him too, but he was a tough little sucker too. And he grew up with my daughter, and they played together. They grew up together on a tennis court. And my daughter grew up on a tennis court with me, growing up with her as a dad, first time, having a daughter, first time. And now, so if I say the differences that we have are the differences that sometimes we don't know exist, because the differences that we have are differences that we don't remember exist, because when he didn't know that he had the timing already in him, the difference was he didn't have it, but I told him it's still in there. Those differences can be the thing that separate us as people, because when people of different color, race, creed, or whatever religion, anything like that, are different to each other, the differences they have are differences that they can lose down the road because they can share a path that's the same. A person who shares the same path of addiction ends up in the same point, same destination. Didn't matter where they started, but they're the same. If you're a Christian, you're a Muslim, and you're an addict, you're on the street, you've lost everything, your family's turned your back on you, what's the commonality between you and your Muslim Christian brother from before? Nothing. Are you Muslim Christian? Do you wear that as your badge? Nah. You're homeless. You need food. You need to get dope. You need to get well. Right? You're still a Christian. You're still a Muslim. But when you're those, the differences exist way stronger when you're healthy, when you're whole, when you may go to church or go to mosque, and you may voice your opinions on the political situations in the Middle East, or voice your opinions of what it is to be Christian and compare yourself to Muslim and have divisive attitudes. The differences don't exist down the road if you share a similar course. The point I'm making is that if you share a course that's different, then you can share a course that's the same as well. And the same course can be a course that you find yourself in parallel and trying to share in a better way. The course that I share is a course that I wish to not have to share with anybody else. I don't want to be someone who loses my home, who loses my house, who loses everything simply because I can't redirect my life, or I can't convince my family that I'm worth the fight of believing in me when I'm the person that hasn't been in their lives. But if I'm someone that they can help, I would love if they stepped up to help me if I ever asked. Because to ask family who has never had to help but still cares about you and knows you and keeps you in their hearts and in their minds is someone that deserves to have a chance. And if people don't know what it's like to lose family, to lose the trust of family, it's a horrible thing to lose. It's a horrible thing to feel. Addicts know what it's like, because the trust that they lose is the trust that they can't get back easily. And if I choose to say, the trust I have in my family is the trust that I hold through my heart, that they're the family that I love, the family that will not turn their back on me if ever I face something like that. And if I face something like that, I wouldn't talk about it here, isn't true, but I might talk about it some. But my family is something that I would choose to protect, something I would choose to honor, that they're the family that I would love to the end, no matter what. If they were to make choices that were poor, I led the path of poor for a while, but they weren't there to do it with me. But a family that chooses in unison poor choices, to hurt another family member by not helping them when they really need help, because that's what you're doing. You can hurt a family member by neglecting them when you have the ability to help them, and it's simply your emotional disconnect with your heart in loving them enough, where you might help a stranger more, you might help in charity more, you might give more in a way that's different to strangers. But when that family member comes to you and you refuse to help them at all, God says that's wrong for family to do to anyone at any point. Because family that knows what struggle is many times are the ones who know what it is to help and be helped by other people. Because when people that struggle are helped by people all the time, strangers step up and help. The help isn't charity. The help is sometimes reluctantly received. And people are reserved about how much they want help because they don't want to have to do things always with the help of somebody. To help someone to fish is to feed them for a lifetime. To feed someone a meal, one day of fish, is to feed them fish for one meal. And when you want to feed someone forever, you don't necessarily give them a handout. You help them learn their way. But you be there, support them, encourage them, tell them they can do it. Don't remind them how much of a failure they were. Don't tell them how much they're worth less. You do a disservice to that person by dismissing the effort and the potential inside of them to regain their life. When you dismiss them outright and you neglect what they say is right, and they're not idiots, maybe they can speak as lucidly as me. And if I'm someone who's stupid as hell, then I'm someone who may be the wrong person to say anything at all. So if I'm someone who says the wrong things, who says the wrong things at the wrong times for the wrong reasons, and I say them here, I do it for the cause of helping people to understand that a person that struggles with addiction is not a throwaway person. A person that struggles with addiction can be, at the surface, someone that you absolutely think is useless because of their appearance, their mannerisms, or what they don't have, that they cannot relate to you because they have nothing more than the shirt on their back, their ill health, their ill appearance, and their ill maybe attitude, or this your strangeness that drugs makes them. But when people get sober, all that strangeness goes away. People shower, people get clean, people cut their hair, people get healthy by eating. Then they look like you. You might see them with busted up teeth, and I got some just because this drugs take a wear and tear on your teeth, on your body. They do. And there's an appearance that maybe people don't notice, but other addicts do. Other addicts notice, and other addicts can eye other addicts, which sounds weird, but yeah. And some do it a little bit more than what they think is right. It's not true. Some will say, like, they're an addict, they're getting high, they're high. That's a little bit excessive, I think, unless they got, like, who knows, spidey visions that they can find addicts. If addicts are something that I love, I don't love my addict friends. I cherish my addict friends, and I cherish my addict existence to do something with my experience to help others to see, especially people that don't know addiction, that you don't need to throw someone away that you might believe isn't worth their life because they're not like you, and the difference is an appearance, difference in attitude, and difference in how they've lived recently just separates them way too much from you for you to consider or relate to them. They're human beings that have a life worth living. They have a life worth caring about because they could be your brother, sister, mother, father, or child, daughter or son, niece or nephew. They could be any of those to you, and they're that to someone. And that to someone, the someone that they're that to, you may think they've got family. Family can help them. Sometimes family turns their back on them. Many times when they go to the farthest ends of addiction, family is not there because family has truly been there. They've suffered the daily existence of an addict in their presence, in their homes, coming to them, stealing from them. And it's a relentless pursuit sometimes that addicts will do. And that experience is something that deserves to grow mistrust. But if an addict is an addict simply because they're an addict, but they haven't ever done that to you or anyone else, like me, I've been lucky never to have to do that. And I hope never ever to be compelled to do that, because the drug compels me to choose my day, to choose my way, to choose my need for the day based on I need to get high so I can function the rest of the day. And the misery I feel will be elevated or will be alleviated by when I get high, so I can be pleasant enough to like myself enough, or to like others enough around me to tolerate my existence. And tolerating is not a harsh word to say. Addicts tolerate their existence. But when they can feign happiness, they can feign joy, they can feign a belief that they're okay, simply because they don't have anything else to look forward to, because all they have is the existence they have. And if that existence is bleak, but they are not without shirts, without clothes, when they are not dying on the sidewalk, you try and find happiness, true. You try and be happy, but you also have pride. And when you don't want to lose respect for yourself, you may not know that you've already lost it until you run into someone who looks at you and just in disdain sees the difference, and you know what they're thinking. This dude's an addict. This girl's an addict. And it's just a look of like, you're worthless. Or they'll say something, and it hurts when people say shit. It doesn't hurt me because I don't believe that shit, because I don't think I'm worthless. But I've seen it. I've seen addicts who will succumb to that sense of worthlessness when they experience that. And I'll ask them, why? Why didn't you stand up for yourself? Why didn't you say something? And the addict will say this, is one that told me. They said, it's okay. I'm used to it. And this was when they were young and their addiction isn't true. They had been an addict for a while. And if someone's an addict beyond that longer, and they're used to people treating them poorly, and they accept it, what's their mental state now is I wouldn't know, because I haven't seen them interact with people like that afterwards. It's true. But the little I've seen, that same person, they're a joyful person. They're a person that I believe in. They're a person that can smile great, can crack jokes, can sing like a rock star. And they can make a life that I believe in a huge amount, because God tells me, believe in each other, believe in yourselves, and believe in the people around you who will see what you're worth. The addict laugh and the addict look can take away what others might say is the look and the belief that others might have in you, simply because they judge you just by the differences that they see that they don't see on a daily. Addicts are around addicts all the time. So we look normal to each other. It's true. Sometimes we look shot out with each other. That guy's gone, right? And that's all I got to say. So don't enjoy your differences unless the differences are what you enjoy with each other, and to see and to celebrate in each other, because we can celebrate those differences that we see in others as differences that can be prized, as differences that can be shared. And the differences are real, and the differences are right to exist, but the differences don't have to divide us and don't have to cause us to look down on people, to look up to people, or to go ahead and say, the difference is a reason that I hate you. Never should that be a difference that people should use as a reason to hate, to lead to violence. God tells me, amen. Amen, sir.